Beneath the ocean's shimmer glides a creature forged by evolution's oldest blueprint, the shark. Often misunderstood, these sleek predators have prowled the deep for over 400 million years, their senses tuned to whispers of blood and motion. Though painted as villains in human lore, shark attacks are rare, more accidental than malicious. Yet when they strike, it's a breathtaking blend of precision and primal power. Sharks remind us that nature isn't tame. It's wild, mysterious, and sometimes it bites back without warning. Here are 6 stories. Cape Town, South Africa, 2016. Mossel Bay, nestled along the famous garden route of South Africa, has earned a reputation for its spectacular beaches and rich marine life. The small coastal town had built a reputation as a premier destination for both local and international tourists seeking sun-soaked relaxation and adventure. In particular, the waters around Mossel Bay had become renowned for their population of great white sharks, drawing wildlife enthusiasts and thrill-seekers alike to witness these magnificent predators from the safety of cage diving expeditions. It was in June of 2016 when 4 Russian couples arrived in Mossel Bay for what was meant to be a 2-week vacation at the exclusive Pinnacle Beach Resort. The couples, Olga and Viktor Petrov, Maria and Dmitry Sokolov, Natasha and Igor Kuznetsov, and Irina and Pavel Orlov, had been friends since their university days in Moscow. All in their early 40s, they had planned this trip for months, eager to escape the frigid Russian winter for South Africa's milder climate. The first 3 days of their vacation proceeded without incident. The group enjoyed wine tastings in the nearby Stellenbosch region, took a safari tour at a private game reserve, and spent leisurely evenings dining at local restaurants. On the 4th day, June 12th, the weather was particularly pleasant, sunny with a gentle breeze and temperatures around 22 degrees Celsius. The group decided to spend the day at Santos Beach, a blue flag beach known for its pristine waters and safety. According to statements later provided by the husbands, around 2:30 in the afternoon, the 4 men opted to remain on the shore, setting up chairs and an umbrella. Viktor mentioned he wanted to rest after drinking too much wine the previous night, while Dmitry had suffered a mild sunburn the day before. Igor and Pavel simply preferred to watch their wives from afar, taking photos and enjoying cold beers from the beachside cafe. The 4 women, all competent swimmers who had previously participated in open-water swimming events back in Russia, decided to venture further into the ocean. Local lifeguard Themba Nkosi recalled warning the tourists about swimming beyond the designated safe area, but his warnings were either misunderstood or disregarded. According to his statement, the women swam approximately 200 meters offshore, well beyond the safety buoys. At approximately 3:15 p.m., disaster struck. Witnesses on nearby boats reported seeing a large shadow moving swiftly beneath the surface. Marine biologist Dr. Helena van der Merwe, who later analyzed the incident, estimated the shark to be a female great white, approximately 5.2 meters in length, an unusually large specimen even for the shark-rich waters of South Africa. From the shore, Viktor Petrov was the first to notice something was wrong. Through his camera's telephoto lens, he spotted a large dorsal fin approaching the swimming women. He immediately began shouting and waving frantically, but the distance and ambient noise from other beachgoers made it impossible for his warnings to reach them. The attack happened with terrifying speed. The shark struck Olga first, dragging her under with such force that the water momentarily foamed red. The other 3 women, not immediately comprehending what had occurred, clustered together in panic. This grouping, according to shark behavior experts, may have unfortunately mimicked the appearance of a seal colony, a favorite prey of great whites. Dmitry Sokolov later described to authorities how he watched in helpless horror as the massive predator circled back and attacked again, this time taking Maria beneath the surface. By this point, lifeguards had sounded the alarm, and several nearby surfers began paddling frantically toward the remaining women. Natasha and Irina tried desperately to swim toward shore, but the shark, now in what experts would later describe as a feeding frenzy, struck again. The husbands, along with several other beachgoers, rushed into the shallows but were physically restrained by lifeguards who recognized the futility and danger of their attempted rescue. Pavel Orlov reportedly collapsed on the sand, watching through tears as the water around his wife turned crimson. Despite the quick response from emergency services, including 2 rescue boats launched within minutes and a helicopter that arrived shortly after, all 4 women sustained catastrophic injuries. Olga and Maria died almost instantly from massive trauma and blood loss. Natasha survived the initial attack but succumbed to her injuries during the helicopter transport to the provincial hospital. Irina, though rescued alive and rushed to surgery, died 12 hours later without regaining consciousness. The tragic incident sent shockwaves through South Africa's tourism industry and prompted immediate calls for enhanced safety measures along the country's beaches. The Russian embassy dispatched counselors to assist the devastated husbands, who remained in South Africa for 3 weeks following the tragedy, as authorities conducted investigations and prepared the bodies of their wives for repatriation. Marine conservation authorities faced significant pressure to implement culling programs, but ultimately opted instead for increased drone surveillance and the installation of additional electromagnetic shark deterrent systems along popular beaches. The incident also led to stricter enforcement of swimming boundaries and mandatory multilingual safety briefings for all international tourists. For the residents of Mossel Bay, the tragedy represented the worst shark attack in the region's recorded history. Local tour guide Peter Venter, who had been operating shark cage diving expeditions for 15 years, expressed his devastation, noting that such attacks were incredibly rare and that great whites were typically uninterested in humans as prey. Marine biologists speculated that unusual water temperatures that season, combined with shifting seal populations, may have altered typical shark behavior patterns. In a somber ceremony held 1 year after the incident, the 4 widowers returned to Santos Beach to unveil a small memorial stone bearing the names of their wives. The monument stands as a reminder of the unpredictable power of nature and the unfathomable loss suffered that day. Dmitry Sokolov, speaking briefly at the ceremony, expressed that while they harbored no ill will toward the creatures or the country, their lives had been irreversibly shattered in the span of mere minutes on what should have been an idyllic afternoon in paradise. To this day, visitors to Mossel Bay will notice enhanced safety protocols and information boards in multiple languages detailing shark safety measures, a direct result of the tragic events of June 12, 2016, which locals still solemnly refer to as the Day of Tears. Tampa Bay, Florida, 2023. The warm waters of Tampa Bay had long attracted adventure seekers and marine enthusiasts to its diverse ecosystem. The region's unique combination of freshwater tributaries and saltwater inlets created an ideal environment for various marine species, including the notoriously territorial bull shark. Unlike its oceanic cousins, the bull shark's remarkable ability to tolerate freshwater had earned it a fearsome reputation among locals, who knew to exercise caution in the murky estuaries where visibility rarely extended beyond a few feet. Alex Monroe, a 29-year-old marine conservation advocate and rising social media star with over 3 million followers across various platforms, had built his brand around close encounters with marine predators. His channel, Ocean Adventures with Alex, featured weekly live streams showcasing his adventures in shark-heavy waters worldwide. Critics often accused him of prioritizing views over safety, but Alex maintained that his work helped dispel myths about sharks and promoted conservation efforts. On the morning of April 17, 2023, Alex prepared for what would become his most viewed and nearly final livestream. He had selected a location near the mouth of the Hillsborough River, an area known among local fishermen for its significant bull shark population. The previous week's unusual rainfall had decreased the water's salinity and stirred up sediment, reducing visibility considerably. Several local diving operators had temporarily suspended their tours due to these conditions, a fact that Alex had either overlooked or deliberately ignored. Accompanying Alex that day were his longtime cameraman Jordan Feldman and audio technician Rebecca Torres. The small team had worked together for 3 years, capturing footage of sharks across the globe, from the great whites of South Africa to the tiger sharks of the Bahamas. Both Jordan and Rebecca had reportedly expressed concerns about the day's dive conditions, with Jordan later telling investigators that the water looked like chocolate milk upon their arrival. According to the stream's recorded footage, Alex began his broadcast at 10:37 a.m., enthusiastically greeting his online audience while showcasing the specialized equipment he would be using. He wore a black wetsuit with blue accents, a color combination that marine biologists would later note potentially resembled a wounded fish in the murky conditions. Conspicuously absent was any form of protective cage or shark deterrent technology, tools that many of his peers considered essential when working in known bull shark territories. At approximately 10:52 a.m., Alex entered the water, followed by Jordan, who maintained a distance of about 15 feet. Rebecca remained aboard their small research vessel, monitoring the live stream comments and relaying information through their underwater communication system. The early minutes of the dive proceeded uneventfully. with Alex narrating his observations about the water conditions and expressing hope that viewers would soon witness the magnificent predators that call these waters home. 19 minutes into the dive, the first signs of trouble appeared. Jordan's camera captured a large shadow moving through the murky water approximately 30 feet from their position. Alex, spotting the movement, excitedly signaled toward the shape and swam closer despite Jordan's visible hand gestures urging caution. The live stream's audio captured Rebecca's worried voice over the communication system, warning Alex that something large was approaching rapidly from his left. The attack occurred at precisely 11:14 a.m., witnessed in real time by nearly 87,000 viewers. The bull shark, later estimated by marine biologists to be approximately 10 feet in length, emerged suddenly from the cloudy water. Without displaying the typical circling behavior often seen before shark attacks, the predator charged directly at Alex, clamping its powerful jaws around his right leg. The live stream briefly descended into chaos as the camera tumbled, capturing disorienting flashes of thrashing water, blood, and bubbles. Jordan, displaying remarkable courage under the circumstances, immediately dropped his camera and swam toward his colleague. The bull shark, after its initial strike, had released Alex but remained in the vicinity, circling erratically. Jordan later recounted how he had managed to wedge himself between the injured streamer and the predator, using his camera housing as an improvised shield. This intervention potentially saved Alex's life, as bull sharks are known to continue attacking once blood has been detected in the water. Rebecca, watching the horror unfold on the boat's monitor, immediately contacted emergency services while simultaneously deploying the boat's emergency shark deterrent system, a device that emits strong electrical pulses designed to repel sharks. The effectiveness of this device in the chaotic situation remains disputed, but it may have contributed to the shark's decision not to return for a second attack. Jordan successfully brought the severely injured Alex to the surface, where Rebecca helped haul him aboard. The live stream continued running throughout the rescue effort, broadcasting the traumatic scene to thousands of stunned viewers, until someone finally thought to end the transmission 17 minutes after the attack. By then, the footage had already been captured and shared across various platforms, accumulating millions of views within hours. Paramedics met the boat at the Davis Island Marina, where Alex was immediately airlifted to a nearby hospital. Surgeons worked for 11 hours to repair the catastrophic damage to his right leg, which had sustained severe lacerations and multiple compound fractures. Despite their best efforts, the medical team was ultimately forced to amputate the limb below the knee due to extensive vascular damage and the high risk of infection. The attack sparked intense debate within the marine conservation community. Dr. Eliza Thornberry, a leading shark behavior expert at the University of Miami, pointed out that Alex had broken numerous safety protocols, including diving in poor visibility conditions, wearing potentially provocative colors, and approaching a known predator in its territory. Others defended him, arguing that his work, however risky, had helped generate public interest in shark conservation efforts. Alex himself, speaking from his hospital bed 3 weeks after the attack, expressed no resentment toward the shark or regrets about his choices. He announced his intention to continue his conservation work, albeit with a slightly different approach in the future. His first post-recovery video, titled "Respect the Apex," garnered over 22 million views and featured Alex discussing the importance of proper safety measures when interacting with marine predators. The Tampa Bay incident stands as a stark reminder of nature's unpredictability and the thin line between educational adventure and reckless endangerment. While Alex survived his encounter, his experience serves as a cautionary tale for aspiring wildlife content creators about the potentially devastating consequences of prioritizing compelling content over personal safety. Today, a portion of the proceeds from his channel supports rehabilitation programs for shark attack survivors and education initiatives promoting responsible marine interaction. Gansbaai, South Africa, 2011. The coastal town of Gansbaai, situated approximately 160 kilometers east of Cape Town, has earned its reputation as the Great White Shark Capital of the world through decades of consistent sightings and encounters. The area between Dyer Island and Geyser Rock, colloquially known as Shark Alley, hosted one of the densest populations of great white sharks on the planet, drawn by the 60,000-strong Cape Fur seal colony that provided an abundant food source. By 2011, this natural phenomenon had transformed the once quiet fishing village into a bustling hub for marine tourism. with dozens of cage diving operations ferrying eager tourists out daily to witness these apex predators in their natural habitat. Anton Reznikov, a 35-year-old Russian extreme sports enthusiast from St. Petersburg, arrived in Gansbai on May 3, 2011. Unlike most visitors who came to observe sharks from the safety of steel cages, Anton harbored more ambitious plans. According to his travel companions, Mikhail Volkov and Sergei Petrov, Anton had spent the previous 2 years preparing for what he called the ultimate free dive, a cageless swim in waters known to contain multiple great white sharks. Anton was no stranger to danger. His personal YouTube channel documented his previous exploits: base jumping from Venezuela's Angel Falls, free solo climbing in Yosemite, and swimming with bull sharks in the Bahamas. Each video showcased not only his remarkable physical abilities, but also his meticulous preparation. His friends later reported that Anton had studied great white shark behavior extensively, consulting with marine biologists and spending hours analyzing footage of shark movements and attack patterns. On the morning of May 7th, the 3 Russians chartered a small vessel operated by local fisherman Willem Bassin. According to Bassin's subsequent statement to authorities, he had been explicitly told they wanted to fish for yellowtail in the outer bay, not encounter sharks. Bassin recounted that he became suspicious when he noticed Anton's equipment: a black wetsuit, free-diving fins, a specialized GoPro camera mounted on a head harness, and a dive knife strapped to his calf. When questioned, Anton allegedly admitted his true intentions but assured Bassin that he had developed a technique to remain safe among the predators. Despite Bassin's strenuous objections and warnings about the illegality of free diving with great whites in South African waters, Anton was determined to proceed. As they approached Dyer Island around 6:30 a.m., taking advantage of the early morning hours when great whites typically hunted, Bassin made a final attempt to dissuade the Russian. According to both Mikhail and Sergei, their friend simply smiled, checked his waterproof watch, and responded that he would be back on board within 40 minutes. The footage recovered from Anton's GoPro, later analyzed by authorities, showed the initial 12 minutes of his dive. The visibility was surprisingly good for the area, extending approximately 15 meters in the early morning light. Anton descended to a depth of about 8 meters and hovered there, his breathing controlled and methodical as he scanned the blue void around him. At the 14-minute mark, the first shark appeared, a juvenile female approximately 3 meters in length. Rather than panicking, Anton maintained his position, adjusting only slightly to keep the predator in his field of vision. What happened next remains a subject of debate among marine experts. The footage shows a second, significantly larger shark approaching from below, its movements deliberate and direct. Marine biologist Dr. Alison Koch, who reviewed the recording, estimated this second shark to be at least 6 meters long, placing it among the largest great whites ever documented in South African waters. The final seconds of footage show Anton turning sharply, seemingly startled by movement behind him, before the camera violently tumbles and goes dark. After Anton failed to resurface, Bassin radioed for emergency assistance. The South African Maritime Safety Authority launched an immediate search operation, deploying 3 vessels and a helicopter to scan the area. By nightfall, with no sign of the missing diver, hopes diminished significantly. Shark conservation groups expressed concern that the incident would damage their efforts to protect the already vulnerable great white population, while local tour operators worried about the impact on the region's tourism economy. The search might have ended there, another tragedy chalked up to the ocean's dangers, had it not been for an extraordinary occurrence the following morning. Hendrik Pretorius, a commercial fisherman operating out of Kleinby Harbor, reported catching an unusually large great white shark in his nets approximately 5 kilometers from where Anton had disappeared. The shark, a female measuring an astounding 6.1 meters, 20 feet, was already dead when brought aboard, likely from stress and injuries sustained while entangled in the heavy-duty fishing gear. Given the proximity to the previous day's incident, authorities made the unprecedented decision to transport the massive carcass to the nearby Marine Dynamics Shark Research Center for immediate examination. Dr. Elizabeth Anderson, the center's lead pathologist, made the gruesome discovery during necropsy: human remains identifiable as those of an adult male, along with fragments of a black wetsuit, a dive knife, and what appeared to be pieces of a camera housing. Deoxyribonucleic acid testing later confirmed the remains belonged to Anton Reznikov. The autopsy revealed that death had likely been instantaneous, resulting from catastrophic trauma and blood loss, consistent with a predatory attack. Intriguingly, Dr. Anderson noted that the shark itself had died from causes unrelated to its human prey, a revelation that prevented retaliatory calls for shark culling in the area. The incident prompted South African authorities to implement stricter regulations on marine tourism operations and enhanced penalties for unauthorized interactions with protected marine species. For the small community of Gansbaai, the event served as a sobering reminder of the wild nature that underpinned their livelihood. Mikhail and Sergei returned to Russia with their friend's remaining possessions, including a journal detailing his preparations and motivations. In it, Anton had written that he sought not to conquer the ocean's greatest predator, but to share its world, if only for a moment. That moment, brief as it was, cost him his life and generated worldwide discussion about the ethical boundaries of extreme adventure sports. The incident served both as a memorial and a warning that the ocean deserves our respect, not our conquest. Jardines de la Reina Archipelago, Cuba, 2019. The Jardines de la Reina, Cuba's coral garden, archipelago stretches along Cuba's southern coast, comprising a pristine chain of uninhabited islands and coral reefs. Designated as a marine protected area in 1996, this remote ecosystem had remained largely untouched by human activity, creating what many considered the most well-preserved marine environment in the Caribbean. The region's isolation, it lies approximately 60 miles from the Cuban mainland, had allowed it to become a sanctuary for numerous shark species, including the increasingly rare oceanic whitetip, once described by Jacques Cousteau as the most dangerous of all sharks. In March 2019, the research vessel Horizonte set sail from Havana with a team of international marine biologists aboard. The expedition, funded jointly by Cuba's Center for Marine Research and the Global Shark Conservation Initiative, aimed to conduct the most comprehensive study of oceanic whitetip behavior ever attempted. Leading the team was Dr. Isla Hawthorne, a 42-year-old British shark behavioral specialist whose pioneering work on predator recognition patterns had revolutionized understanding of how sharks identify potential prey. Accompanying Dr. Hawthorne were her longtime research partner, Dr. Marcus Blackwood from the University of the Bahamas, Cuban marine ecologist Dr. Elena Rodriguez, and 3 graduate students, Jin Ho Park from South Korea, Amina El Mansouri from Morocco, and Connor O'Sullivan from Ireland. The team planned to spend 3 weeks in the waters around Cayo Grande, documenting oceanic whitetip populations and collecting data on their feeding patterns, migratory behaviors, and social interactions. For the first 11 days, the expedition proceeded exceptionally well. The researchers documented 27 distinct oceanic whitetips, collecting valuable data through non-invasive methods including underwater photography, environmental deoxyribonucleic acid sampling, and remote acoustic monitoring. Dr. Hawthorne expressed particular excitement about their observations of what appeared to be cooperative hunting behaviors among the sharks, a phenomenon never before documented in this species. On March 17th, the 12th day of the expedition, weather conditions were ideal: clear skies, light winds, and exceptional visibility underwater. According to the expedition log maintained by Dr. Blackwood, the team decided to focus their efforts on a specific female oceanic whitetip they had designated OWT-07, a large specimen measuring approximately 3.2 meters in length that had displayed unusual hunting techniques on previous encounters. At approximately 10:15 a.m., Dr. Hawthorne and Dr. Blackwood entered the water roughly 2 miles southeast of Cayo Grande. Both wore standard scientific diving equipment, including black neoprene wetsuits, scuba gear, and underwater cameras. Dr. Rodriguez remained aboard the Horizonte, monitoring their location and maintaining radio contact, while the 3 graduate students prepared equipment for the afternoon diving session. The first 40 minutes of the dive were uneventful, with the researchers documenting various fish species but encountering no sharks. According to Dr. Blackwood's subsequent report, they were beginning to consider relocating when 3 oceanic whitetips appeared, approaching from the deeper waters to the south. 2 were smaller specimens they had previously identified, but the third was significantly larger, estimated at nearly 3.5 meters, and unfamiliar to the team. Dr. Blackwood recounted that the sharks initially maintained a typical investigatory pattern, circling at a distance of approximately 10 meters while gradually decreasing their radius. This behavior was consistent with previous encounters, and both researchers continued their documentation work without apparent concern. Dr. Hawthorne specifically focused on the new, larger shark, positioning herself slightly away from her partner to capture wide-angle footage of the predator's movements. What happened next occurred with such speed that Dr. Blackwood's camera captured only blurred images of the incident. The large shark, without displaying any of the typical pre-attack posturing behaviors such as hunched back or lowered pectoral fins, suddenly accelerated directly toward Dr. Hawthorne. The shark struck her right side with tremendous force, its jaws clamping onto her torso between the hip and rib cage. Dr. Blackwood immediately activated his emergency signaling device and moved toward his colleague. In an action he later described as instinctive rather than planned, he forcefully struck the shark's sensitive gills with his camera housing. This intervention, combined with Dr. Hawthorne's own defensive response of jamming her fingers into the predator's eye, prompted the shark to release its grip and retreat. Despite severe bleeding, Dr. Hawthorne remained conscious and remarkably composed. Dr. Blackwood established positive buoyancy for both of them and began the emergency ascent protocol. Dr. Rodriguez, having received the distress signal, had already mobilized the Horizonte's emergency response team, and they were pulling alongside the dive location as the two researchers surfaced. Once aboard, the team implemented their remote trauma protocol. Amina El Mansouri, who had previous emergency medical training, applied pressure bandages to staunch the bleeding, while Connor O'Sullivan established satellite communication with a trauma surgeon in Havana. The shark's bite had created a 38-centimeter laceration across Dr. Hawthorne's side, damaging muscle tissue but miraculously missing vital organs. The Horizonte immediately set course for the mainland at maximum speed while continuing to administer emergency care. The vessel reached the port of Casilda after 4 hours of high-speed travel, where a medical evacuation helicopter transferred Dr. Hawthorne to Havana Hospital. She underwent 7 hours of surgery to repair the extensive tissue damage, receiving 12 units of blood and requiring over 300 sutures to close the wound. Against significant odds, she survived both the initial attack and the subsequent medical challenges. During her 2-month recovery in Havana, Dr. Hawthorne worked with Dr. Blackwood to analyze the attack footage frame by frame. Their findings, published the following year in the Journal of Marine Predator Behavior, suggested that the shark had likely misidentified her silhouette against the surface light as that of a wounded seal, one of the oceanic whitetip's natural prey items. The paper emphasized that the attack represented opportunistic feeding behavior rather than aggression, a distinction Dr. Hawthorne insisted was crucial for accurate public understanding. Perhaps most remarkably, Dr. Hawthorne returned to field research just 8 months after the incident, though she now specializes in coastal rather than pelagic shark species. In numerous public appearances since the attack, she has consistently advocated against vilifying sharks, emphasizing their ecological importance and the statistical rarity of such incidents. Her custom wetsuit, featuring distinctive zebra stripe patterns designed to break up her human silhouette, has since been adopted by many shark researchers worldwide. The Jardins de la Reina incident stands as both a cautionary tale about the unpredictable nature of wild predators and a testament to the dedication of those who study them. As Dr. Hawthorne noted in her 2020 Forum talk, the ocean does not belong to humans. They are merely visitors in its world. She emphasized that despite the best preparations, nature sometimes reminds people of their place in the order of things. San Clemente Island, California, 2008. San Clemente Island, located approximately 70 miles northwest of San Diego, has served as a critical United States Navy training facility since 1934. The island's remote location and varied underwater topography make it an ideal setting for specialized military exercises, particularly those involving the Navy's elite Special Operations Forces. Unlike the nearby tourist destinations of Catalina Island or the beaches of Southern California, San Clemente remains strictly off-limits to civilians, its waters patrolled by military vessels and its activities shrouded in operational security. On the night of September 12, 2008, the waters off the island's northwestern shore hosted a routine training exercise for Sea, Air, and Land Team 3, a specialized unit based out of Coronado Naval Amphibious Base. According to declassified documents released years later through a Freedom of Information Act request, the exercise simulated a covert underwater approach to an enemy vessel, requiring team members to navigate in near-total darkness while carrying specialized equipment. Senior Chief Petty Officer Ben Carlson, a 34-year-old veteran with 12 years of service and 3 combat deployments, led the 6-person team that night. The other participants included Chief Petty Officer Rajesh Patel, Lieutenant Commander Marcus Wilson, Petty Officer First Class Darnell Washington, Petty Officer Second Class Vincent Kowalski, and Petty Officer Second Class Alejandro Velasquez. All were experienced combat divers with hundreds of hours of underwater operations experience between them. The mission briefing, conducted aboard the support vessel United States ship Independence at 2100 hours, outlined a straightforward objective: approach an anchored target vessel, in this case a decommissioned patrol boat, from 800 meters out, place simulated limpet mines on its hull, and extract without detection. The team would operate in pairs, with Carlson and Wilson forming the lead element. Weather conditions were optimal: calm seas, minimal current, and a new moon providing the darkness essential for covert operations. What the briefing failed to account for, however, was the unusual marine activity in the area that week. According to subsequent reports from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, an unseasonal algal bloom had attracted an unprecedented number of sea lions to the island's northwestern waters. This concentration of pinnipeds had, in turn, drawn several adult great white sharks to the area, a natural but unexpected complication for the night's training mission. At precisely 11:15 p.m., Carlson and his team entered the water approximately 800 meters from the target vessel. Each diver carried standard rebreather equipment designed to eliminate telltale bubbles, along with specialized night vision devices and communication gear. The water temperature hovered around 65 degrees Fahrenheit, comfortable enough with their specialized wetsuits. According to the mission log, the insertion phase proceeded without incident, and by 11:30 p.m., all three pairs had begun their underwater approach toward the target. Carlson and Wilson led the formation, maintaining a depth of approximately 15 feet to avoid surface detection. Behind them, at staggered intervals of 50 meters, followed the other two pairs. Their black tactical wetsuits, designed to minimize visibility during night operations, unfortunately also resembled the silhouette of seals when viewed from below, a fact that would prove catastrophic in the next few minutes. At approximately 11:37 p.m., according to Wilson's subsequent report, a massive shape emerged suddenly from the darkness below. The shark, later estimated by marine biologists to be a female great white approximately 16 feet in length, struck Carlson with devastating force. The predator's initial strike targeted Carlson's left leg, clamping down with incredible pressure just above the knee. Despite the sudden attack, Carlson reportedly remained conscious and focused. Using his combat knife, he struck at the shark's sensitive gills and eyes, a textbook response that marine combat instructors had incorporated into training following previous, though rare, shark encounters. Wilson, demonstrating extraordinary courage, moved in to assist rather than retreating to safety. Using his spear gun, originally intended for self-defense against human threats, he delivered several powerful strikes to the shark's head and gills. The combination of these defensive actions apparently convinced the predator to release its grip. According to Wilson's statement, the shark circled once more before disappearing into the darkness. By this point, Carlson had suffered catastrophic blood loss from the severed femoral artery in his left thigh. Wilson immediately activated his emergency beacon and began applying a tourniquet to the wounded limb. The other team members converged on their position within seconds of the emergency signal. Abandoning the training mission, they initiated emergency extraction procedures, with Patel and Washington physically supporting Carlson, while Kowalski and Velasquez maintained a protective perimeter, wary of the shark's return. Using their specialized propulsion devices, the team covered the 400 meters to their extraction point in under 4 minutes, a remarkable feat given the circumstances. The United States ship Independence's medical team was waiting as the divers surfaced. Navy Corpsman Petty Officer First Class Jasmine Rodriguez later received a commendation for her actions that night, applying advanced trauma protocols that kept Carlson alive despite his critical condition. Within 20 minutes of the attack, an MH-60S Seahawk helicopter had airlifted Carlson to the Naval Medical Center, San Diego, where a surgical team stood ready. Carlson survived the initial surgery but ultimately lost his left leg above the knee. After 6 months of rehabilitation, he returned to limited active duty in an instructional capacity. In a rare public statement 2 years after the incident, Carlson expressed no resentment toward the shark, acknowledging that when individuals entered its domain, they had accepted certain risks. He further emphasized that the incident should not be used to justify any culling or hunting of great white sharks, which are protected under California law. The San Clemente Island incident prompted significant changes to naval special warfare training protocols. These included the implementation of electronic shark deterrent devices for night diving operations, enhanced marine wildlife monitoring before training exercises, and additional emergency medical training specifically focused on marine predator attacks. Marine biologists consulted by the Navy after the incident noted that the attack was consistent with the great white's natural hunting behavior rather than any form of aggression. Dr. Eleanor Haywood of the Monterey Bay Aquarium's White Shark Research Program explained that the shark had likely mistaken the diver's silhouette for that of a sea lion, particularly given the low visibility conditions and Carlson's black wetsuit. The incident remains one of the few documented cases of a shark attack on military personnel during training operations, highlighting the unique hazards faced by those who operate in the world's oceans, not just from human adversaries, but from the apex predators with whom they share these environments. As Lieutenant Commander Wilson noted in the official after-action report, the ocean never forgets to remind you who's really in charge down there. In the crystal-clear waters surrounding Key West, Florida, a terrifying encounter between a woman and a predator unfolded on a seemingly perfect summer morning in July 2018. Key West, the southernmost point of the continental United States, had long been a paradise for water enthusiasts seeking the turquoise waters of the Florida Straits. The area's rich marine ecosystem made it popular for paddleboarding, snorkeling, and diving, though locals knew the waters also harbored the occasional tiger shark, a species known for its distinctive dark stripes and curious, sometimes aggressive nature. Samantha Thornbridge, a 34-year-old marine photography instructor originally from Chicago, had moved to Key West 3 years prior, drawn by the island's laid-back lifestyle and incredible ocean access. An experienced paddleboarder who often ventured out at dawn to capture the perfect morning light for her photography classes, Samantha was no stranger to the local waters and their inhabitants. On that particular July morning, Samantha had set out earlier than usual. She hoped to photograph the sunrise reflecting off the water for an upcoming exhibition featuring Florida's coastal beauty. The air was unusually still, and the water surface resembled polished glass as she paddled away from Smathers Beach, moving toward deeper waters about half a mile offshore. Samantha's goal that morning was to reach a small sandbar known locally as Photographer's Point, where the angle of the rising sun created spectacular light conditions. She carried her waterproof camera equipment in a sealed bag strapped to her paddleboard, focused on reaching her destination before the perfect light disappeared. As she paddled through the calm waters, Samantha noticed unusual movement beneath her board. At first, she assumed it was a school of fish or perhaps a curious dolphin, both common sights in these waters. However, as she squinted against the glare of the early morning sun, she recognized the unmistakable silhouette of a tiger shark. Later estimated to be nearly 12 feet long, the shark's distinctive striped pattern was clearly visible as it glided silently beneath the surface. Initially maintaining her composure, Samantha decided to pause and observe the magnificent creature from a safe distance. As a photography instructor who occasionally shot marine wildlife, she understood that tiger sharks rarely attacked humans unprovoked. She remained still, hoping the shark would lose interest and move on. For several minutes, the tiger shark circled at a distance, its movements deliberate and unhurried. Samantha began to feel uneasy as the shark's circular pattern gradually tightened, bringing it closer to her paddleboard with each pass. When the shark's circling radius had decreased to less than 20 feet, Samantha decided it was time to retreat toward shore. As she dipped her paddle into the water to turn her board, the vibration seemed to trigger something in the shark. Without warning, the predator charged directly toward her, its powerful body cutting through the water with frightening speed. Before Samantha could react, the shark slammed into her paddleboard from below with tremendous force, catapulting her into the air. Samantha plunged into the water, disoriented and terrified. She lost sight of the shark briefly before feeling a tug as its jaws clamped onto her wetsuit. The shark dragged her underwater, its teeth scraping her thigh, but luckily it mostly caught the thick neoprene instead of her flesh. In a moment of clarity amid the terror, Samantha remembered her carbon fiber paddle still clutched in her hand. Acting on instinct and adrenaline, she thrust the paddle's edge directly at the shark's sensitive gills with all her strength. The shark recoiled immediately, releasing its grip as it veered away from the unexpected counterattack. Seizing the moment, Samantha kicked frantically toward the surface, breaking into the air with a desperate gasp. Her paddleboard floated nearby, miraculously still intact. With strength born of pure survival instinct, she hauled herself onto the board and lay flat, heart pounding violently against her chest as she searched the water for signs of the predator. The tiger shark reappeared within moments, circling her board once more, this time with more agitated movements. Blood from Samantha's leg wounds spread slowly in the water, a dangerous attractant. Understanding she had only moments before the shark might strike again, Samantha began paddling furiously toward shore, staying flat on her stomach to maintain stability and present less of a target. Her frantic escape caught the attention of Marcus Fernandez, a local fishing charter captain who was heading out early with his boat, the Gulf Runner. Witnessing Samantha's desperate paddling and noticing the shark's fin cutting through the water behind her, Captain Fernandez immediately changed course and accelerated toward her. As the tiger shark closed in for a second attack, the rumble of the approaching boat engine seemingly dissuaded it. The predator hesitated, then disappeared into deeper water as the Gulf runner pulled alongside Samantha's paddleboard. Captain Fernandez and his first mate quickly pulled her aboard, securing her damaged board to the stern. Though severely shaken and suffering from several lacerations to her left thigh and hip, Samantha's injuries were not life-threatening. The captain radioed ahead to the shore, and emergency medical services were waiting when they docked 20 minutes later. At the local hospital, doctors treated her wounds, noting that her wetsuit had largely protected her from more serious injury. The attack left Samantha with not only physical scars, but also a profound respect for the ocean's apex predators. Rather than abandoning her love for the water, however, she channeled her experience into education, starting a water safety program for paddlers and swimmers in the Keys that emphasized shark awareness and proper safety protocols. A photograph of Samantha's damaged paddleboard, complete with visible shark teeth marks, hung in the Key West Maritime Museum as part of an exhibit on human-shark interactions in Florida waters, serving as a powerful reminder of both the dangers and the rare nature of such attacks.